Okay, so let's wait for others to join and we will start sharp at 12 p.m. So let's start. Very good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to Kaggle Days Meetup Delhi NCR. We are back with the fourth session of Data Ketchup. Uh, Data Ketchup is a series which is specially targeted for college students who are aiming to enhance their knowledge and skills in the data science and machine learning. Basically, it aims to gather people interested in data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence with, with location barriers, with no location barriers. Today, we have Ajinkya Kolhe sir as our guest speaker, talking about his experience. He is an data instructor of data analytics and machine learning at Google. He is also the data science instructor of at Data Driven Science. And the topic which he will be discussing today is becoming hireable in data science in 2022. Like there are many questions being asked by many people for what is the future scope of being a data scientist in India or the data science field in India. As we can observe, our future seriously requires data scientists a lot, and companies will hire a lot of them. So, but for this, you should have the skill set to follow up with. So, I hope this session will help and will be informative for all of us. Moving on to our agenda, we will be having our session from 12:05 to 1:15, where where sir will brief you about or will discuss the s-
Uh,
topic, and the last
Mohini,
15 minutes.
Mohini, your audio is missing.
Yeah, is it audible now?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Okay, should I repeat the slide? Okay, moving on to
No,
our
it's.
agenda,
Mhm.
we will be having our session from 12:05 to 1:15, and the last 15 minutes we will be having the live Q&A session. All all of you can send your questions and queries regarding the talk in the live chat window, and the speaker will try to answer them during the Q&A session. So guys, thank you, and this was all about the beginning of our session.
So thank you everyone for joining us, and we have Ajinkya sir with us. So, sir, over
Hi
to you.
everyone. Yes, thank you everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to give this session. And well, let's just begin with the content. Okay. So as you can see, I have designed this with a very specific intention in mind. Is what do I mean by being hireable, and what do I mean 2020? You see, right now, if you start learning, it thinks how are things different now? What has changed since 2010? What has changed since 2015? These are the questions we should be asking. Okay. In India, where we all follow advice only by following news, even right now I get messages from my parents and relatives whenever there is a student who gets package of a crore or something. Then we get messages saying, oh, Sharma ki beti got job in Google with this crore salary. Sir, Sharma ka beta got job in Facebook with this much crore salary. Oh, look at this kid who is so young, 12, 14 years old, and he's IBM's a developer advocate. We make decisions based on things like these. We follow a trend which probably is quite popular in the past, but not so much in the present. Okay, so that's why we need to understand that how do we need to be, what do we need to be hireable by 2020. So right now when you start learning, it might take you 1 year or it might take you 2 years, but in some time you have to actually prove people to kind of like take a chance on you to hire you. Okay, so let me tell a bit about myself. I am a data engineering and machine learning instructor at Google. I have been working in Google for almost 2.5 years now. It will be close to 3 years in just few months. And I've been at Google teaching ML, machine learning to Googlers, machine learning to Google partners, Google customers, and I do the same thing for data engineering. So if we take a look at machine learning as a big thing, okay, so if this is machine learning also needs data engineering as well. So data engineering is this. So in a big project involving machine learning, you will have machine learning, data engineering, infrastructure, environment setup. There are a lot of things. I kind of like teach on these two things. Okay, before that, I was a freelance machine learning instructor. So it's been, like I said, almost close to 3 years at Google. Before that, I was machine learning instructor for 2 years that in Pune. So this is a Delhi meetup, so you won't know me, but I was thinking about moving to Delhi as well, trying to cover that city where I would be teaching machine learning. But that was far in past. But what is interesting is before I was a freelance machine learning instructor, before I was an instructor at Google, I was actually a self-taught data scientist. So in 2016, when I was reading news and I realized that it is future is data science. So that is when I actually began learning data science by just learning it online. So I'm a self-taught data scientist completely who learned online. No course, no in-person tuition or something. Everything I learned online. Okay. So here, these are the kind of like few things which is interesting. Here nowadays, how self-taught is rare. We all want a training certification. Many people want, oh, there is this training course which charges around 4 5 lakhs. Should I go there? So these questions, in my opinion, are wrong questions. Okay, you have to kind of like understand everything we can learn by ourselves. I mean, just we have to follow the right process. People take the wrong path and worry why things are not working. But if you take the right path, you will learn stuff by yourself. So my total cost of learning machine learning by myself was less than 6,000. So 6K rupees was the cost of me learning data science, and the time was less than I think 7 or 8 months. 7 months was the time. So in less than 7 months, I had learned data science. In less than 6,000 rupees, I had learned data science as well. So you don't have to kind of like go behind the courses which are quite expensive. World class education is available on Udemy, Coursera, and they are more than good enough only if you are willing to learn. That's why my favorite quote is this. So it's like, this is my favorite quote. Seriously. The quote says, if the student is ready, teacher will appear. This is my favorite quote. Why? Because it tells you should be in mindset of learning. What happens is most people are not in the mindset of learning, and that's why they need mentors or someone explicitly as a teacher. If you are in the mindset of learning, if you actually open your mind and you want to take actions, you will truly have no lack of resources to learn. Okay, so that's this thing. And before that, I was a software developer at Morgan Stanley. So I started as a software developer, then moved to testing, then I moved to teaching, and then I moved to data science. So software developer to QA to teaching. This was all the experimentation I did before this. Okay. And before this, there are other things as well. I had gone to MS for my masters. I got into depression there. I came back. I was jobless. There was no support from family. Everyone was, taking my case have being a failure. It's like lots of drama. So it's like that was all between this gap, software development at Morgan Stanley to this. And in 2016, that is when I was like, okay, enough is enough. I've had a lot of self pity, lots of time wastage. I want to recover from the mess I had gotten myself into. And that is the upward path 2016 to 2018. 2018, when I started at Google. Now it's 2020, and I'm sure I'll be here for at least 5 more years. So that was the technical background about me. If you want a bit of non-technical background, this is also quite interesting. I am an obsessive reader. I mean, I love reading. I read non-fiction books, I read novels, I read comics, I read wuxia. Wuxia is nothing but Chinese novels. I read manga. Manga is nothing but Japanese novels. I read light novels, which are nothing but Japanese novels. I read muhawa, which is nothing but Korean novels. It's like I read a lot. Okay. Then I'm also a writer. I have written more than 500 posts in past 2 3 years on LinkedIn, and the frequency at which I'm writing is increasing because in next 5 years I want to publish 2 books. So first year I was on Quora, more than 100 answers on Quora. Then I was writing on my personal diary, more than 500 entries, and then on LinkedIn I have posted more than 300 something posts, 3 400, and similar number on Twitter. So I'm a reader, I'm a writer, I'm a speaker. So I've given two TEDx talks which have been featured on TED. Okay, the first talk was how to read a book. It was about the biggest hobby which I have is how to read a book. If you just search that, you will find search my name and say TEDx. You'll find how to read a book. That is my first TEDx talk which I gave, and the second TEDx talk was how to learn from mistakes. Okay, so the second TEDx talk was how to learn from mistakes, but there is a spelling mistake and on that video, the way it was uploaded. But you can just find by searching my name and TEDx. I've given countless machine learning talks, and a new favorite thing of mine is knowledge management. So I'm also an otaku. It's a Japanese word for huge, obsessive anime fans. So it is kind of like just background about me. Passionate about learning, and if you just check my video, there is a recent video I took posted on personal knowledgement, and I'll be posting more videos in the future. Okay, so now going forward to our content, and let's just instead of winding clock back a year, let's wind them 10 years, then 8 years, then 5 years, then 2 years, and then 1 year. Okay, so this is the kind of like approach we are going to have, and there is question from Anmol, there is question from Neha, and also question from Sam about information overload, lot of resources available, and I am going to address these things. That's great, keep such questions coming. I will address them. These questions will be addressed in the slides. When our slides are done, we will take Q&A, which is more detailed. Okay, so let's think as of time, and let's think about what was happening before 2011. Okay, before 2011 there was no interest in machine learning anywhere. Nobody cared. There were lots of jobs in data science, but it's like, let's say if we take a look at sheer number of jobs out in the world, in terms of number, if we are just playing numbers game, then a great place to start is Stack Overflow survey. Okay, so let's just go to Stack Overflow and see. So survey 2020, and let's see the results. Okay, so developer profiles and developer roles. So here, if we take a look at this, take a look at the total numbers. Let's say total number of jobs in the world is X. 55% of people are backend developers. 54% of people are full stack developers. 37% of people are front end developers, then 23% of people are application developers, then 19 mobile, then DevOps, then database administrator, designer, system administrator, developers, data analyst, and you see here, now has data science begun. Data science honestly is not even, let's say, 10% of the total job market. There are 90% of the market which are a lot more than just data science. So you see, data analyst, business analyst has been quite old role. Then we have data scientists, it's around 8%, which I think is quite more than reality. So I think it will be around 5% or something. And developers, QA and testing, this 8% is actually not a correct number. These developers also match with this application developer. Okay, so these are the kind of like roles people get confused in. So here 23 to 30% of people are software developers or QA or into this thing. Then we have data engineers 7%, and this is how the difference is. So as you can see, if we take a look at numbers game, before 2011, the number of jobs in this were very less, and people going for those were also very less. Okay, then 2011 happened. This person, Andrew Ng, who is the legend in the field of this data science, he released his course on Introduction to Machine Learning on Coursera. Okay, so this person then kind of like joined Google, and he was heading Google to do data science in a company like Google. So this person, or Jan LeCun, who did led the movement in Facebook on data science, or Jeffrey Hilton, who taught all the machine learning legends, he invented backpropagation. So these were all the we are the veterans in the field. Then in 2012 was the turning point. 2012, AlexNet was a neural network architecture which was released in this computer vision conference, and that AlexNet actually proved that data science is possible. Before that, there was not much demand, there was not much interest, there was not much buzz in the market around it, and then we have AlexNet, which just proved data science is possible, data science is powerful, and data science is profitable. These were the things which were proven in 2012, but again, not many people knew this. So 2011, Andrew Ng released his course on machine learning. Then 2012, Siraj Raval started releasing his videos on machine learning. So 2016 was a time when everybody kind of like understood, rather than everybody, you could say some people understood that this is a future trend. So in 2016, Siraj Raval and towards data science medium publication, and many people started doing machine learning because they knew that 2000 this will be the turning point where everyone will start doing machine learning. How did they know that? When Google released TensorFlow. So 2016 was the turning point. These people were smart people who were kind of like adopting a trend very early. I also adopted it back in 2016. Like I was mentioning here in my this thing, I was learning in 2016, but I just learned it by myself. And these people were smarter. They kind of like made a business out of learning and teaching. So post 2016, this is what has changed. The fact that machine learning is powerful, the machine learning is profitable, and machine learning is possible, it is no longer a secret. Everybody knows this, and everybody wants to become a data scientist. If you go back to numbers, out of 100%, not even 10% is data science related job. 10% is also an overestimation, and 100% of jobs. And if we take a look at the supply, now what has happened is rest before 100% of people went to the interest they had. Now all people are going to data science. So what is going to happen? There is going to be shortage of people with skills in the rest of the job, uh, which is required, and there is going to be a lot of overflow of people in data science, and then no one will get a job here. So you have to know that it's the fact that data science is a very popular thing. It's not a secret. And another thing you need to know by now, that machine learning is democratized. So since 2016, it was TensorFlow, then it was AutoML, then it was Keras, then it was AutoKeras, then it was a lot of libraries. All of these libraries' entire aim was to make data science easy, because there were very few people, so they tried to make it easy. So there were things like SageMaker, there is AutoML by Google, then there is what else? BigQuery ML. There are a lot of these things which have made machine learning very easy. So machine learning has become democratized now. It's like everybody has access to these tools to do machine learning. So the knowledge which would have been valuable between 2016 to 2020 is no longer valuable now. Thing which would have been valuable in 2016, doing regression, classification, clustering, knowing these algorithms, being able to implement, doing end-to-end pipelines, all these things would have been valuable in this 4-year gap. Now not so much, because ML has already been democratized. What does it mean? It has been made easier. And then another thing is, the secret is already out, so everybody is doing this. So there is oversupply, and it is become easy. It is not as complex as it was before. Okay, so this is the reality. 2016 to 2020, it was phase of early adopters. So 2016 to 2020. So I made the smart choice in the beginning. That's why I'm at Google now. But if you do everything what I did 4 years back, you will probably not get the same result. Why? Because there are a lot of people who know do the same thing now. I was just early. I mean, I was not more skilled than anyone else. I'm probably not more skilled than some of the people who are attending this meetup. I might be the same, or maybe at lesser level compared to some. I just started early. So strategy is the most effective decision making thing. Strategy, think up of strategy to first minimize your efforts to maximize your results. And how you can do that, that is the question. And to maximize the result, then data science in that case is just a means to an end. Okay, it is not the only thing, it's just a means to an end as long as you choose strategically. Okay, so think, don't just be obsessed about, oh, I want to become data scientist. Think about the whole big picture, how the entire career here works, what is valuable, what is not valuable, how you can become more, let's say, employable, things like these. Okay, so what is different now? There is too much supply, too much supply. But it comes with a caveat. It's this supply is not actually very good supply. So what has happened is, even though we have too much supply, it's not necessarily a knowledgeable thing. So separating or distinguishing yourself from the rest of the people is still easy. Okay, so like I said, anyone who is learning data science, I just put them a few conditions, and more than 90% of people don't meet that criteria. So even though there is too much supply, getting hired is still very easy, only if you're knowledgeable. Before, even if you were a quack, you would have gotten a job 4 years back or something. Many of the startups, they didn't know what they wanted to do. Then the people who were giving them money didn't know what they want to do. So it was a lot of fake market. Now fake people won't be able to get as much value as they did before, because of the maybe COVID. Things have changed. People have realized the importance of actually having a profitable product, and there are a lot of factors here. So even though there is too much supply, the problem is not that not all of that supply is knowledgeable. So anybody who is knowledgeable, they won't have a problem ever. Then other thing, as the supply grew since 2012, the news made it a lot worse. So news made it sound like data science, and if you learn data science, you're going to become a millionaire. And that's why there was this huge trove of people just coming into this field. That's not how it is. The demand did not grow the same way as the supply. You have to know that. Then you also have to know that machine learning has become a lot easier now. With the tools like democratized tools, which I mentioned about, it has become a lot easier. And there are too many so-called experts who have very shallow understanding. They have shallow knowledge, they have shallow skills, they don't have portfolio, they don't have ability to add value. And because there is so many people who have such fake expertise, it's harder for people who are actually good to separate themselves from the rest of the noise. Okay. And another problem is like you can't just risk giving a chance to an unexperienced person. So these are the kind of like problems which we are facing now, and these are the kind of like hurdles. Once you cross these hurdles, that is when you actually become hireable. Okay, so the first hurdle is there are a lot of specialized roles. Before, people just knew data scientist, but data science is not the only role. There is data engineer, there is data ops, there is cloud engineer, there is DevOps is data ops, there is maybe admins. There are a lot of people, lot of different types of role in this field of data science. Okay, so it's not just data science. I'm a data scientist. There are a lot of roles, and you can choose them to improve your chances of getting hired. And despite lack of experience, you can kind of like still get a lot of value. Okay, that's one hurdle. Hurdle number two, there is so much information that this is what Yuval Harari was talking about. So if you watch Yuval Harari's lectures, or there is this book called as Brave New World. So these two books were kind of like very interesting books. What they say is that population will not be controlled via religion. Before, population was controlled via religion, or it was controlled via fear. Now it will be controlled via information overload. So the problem is right now we have information overload. So we have to first shortlist what is important, and then choose. So shortlisting is important. The enemy of shortlisting a few is FOMO, fear of missing out. Maybe this course which I is present there is like, maybe that is the course which will help me into getting hired. So problem is FOMO, and the answer is no need to do that. Is deep understanding of one is actually better than shallow understanding of 100. So there is quote of Bruce Lee, if you have seen, is like he says, I am more afraid of a man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times than a person who has practiced 10,000 kicks once. Okay, so this is the truth. You have to just choose few courses. So in my opinion, no more than 5 courses. Okay, no more than 5 courses, no more than 3 4 books. So total number of so short list to total number max 10, no more than this. And at a time max 3, max 10 in total, and max 3 at same time. That's how you kind of like do. So just do this, and then it doesn't matter what, as long as it is good enough, it's good enough. So for information thing, good enough is good enough. This is the kind of like thing which you need to understand, that you have to do these things deeply. So there is a favorite quote of mine is like, it's better to read one book 10 times than reading 10 book once. It's on the same theme as what Bruce Lee said. Okay, so information overload. So the problem is one, shortlisting, and then the problem is like, once you have shortlisted, then develop deep understanding of the shortlisted material. So the question which was asked by Neha Kopalkar or Anmol Bhatia, this is what this is. You have to start with the aim. Okay, I need to shortlist. You should not be learning everything. Fear of missing out is what leads to information overload. Okay, so the solution is shortlist. Simply don't read that much information. Shortlist and develop the deep understanding of shortlisted material. Okay, so that is the information thing. Then we have knowledge. This is another hurdle which I see quite a lot. People confuse knowledge and information. Okay, so actually let me do one thing. Let me just go into these things one by one, instead of doing all of these things just in one slide. Okay, so let's start with problem number one. There are too many roles. Okay, so this was the previous slide, and the previous slide I actually taught everything about information. So then I realized I should teach all the stuff on its own individual slide. So going back to the individual slide. So there are too many roles in the market currently. Okay. What are the too many roles? There is data engineer, there is data analyst, there is data admin, there is cloud analyst, there is DevOps, there is data scientist, there is data researcher. There are a lot of things. Okay. So, because there are so many roles, it's obvious that they have their own separate knowledge as well. And the problem is, not many a times the separation is quite a lot, and many a times the separation is none at all. It depends on where you are. Okay, so if you are into the company where there is no overlap, then there might be just few roles. If you don't have if you are working into MNC, there will be separate roles with less overlap. If you are into startup, then there will be much fewer roles, and you will be expected to learn a lot of things just as a one person. Okay, so this is the kind of like hurdle. And this is a hurdle because if you are not clear with what you are supposed to learn, then you can't actually meet that aim, right? So this confusion kind of like leads to the eternal age old question: startup or MNC, startup or MNC. So anyone who is in startup, there is this thing, because there are too many roles, the problem is lack of focus. You have time for few things only. I have seen people learn machine learning. I have seen people learn data engineering. I have seen people learn cloud computing. I have seen people learn Kubernetes. I have seen people learn web development as well. They try to learn everything. No, that is not how you go. What you try to do is first you become a generalist. Generalist is like what? A good enough knowledge. A good enough knowledge of many things. Okay, problem is people try to become specialist in everything. If you just take a look at specialist, in medical, you'll find a doctor who's specialist in ear or nose or throat or heart or leg or maybe a finger. They are not specialist on everything. Okay, so you have to kind of like first be a generalist and then be a specialist only in few. So specialist, you have option. Do you want to focus on one? Do you want to focus on two things? Or do you want to focus on three things? Like I think there is not enough time in the world to have enough time for more than two, three things. So right now I'm specialist in machine learning, and I'm also specialist in how to do teaching and how to do learning. So these are the things. So now I have shortlisted. I am not going to learn anything else because I have decided not to learn anything else like Kubernetes or DevOps or stuff like this. I can focus on my area of specialties. So in the early stage, you need to be focused on being a generalist. And after you are a generalist, you understand what do you like more, because the specialization should be dictated by your interest. Specialization should be dictated by interest, not money. Because in net 5, 10, 20 years, it's like the money will still be there. It will be worse to be rich and have a really problematic job. It's much better to have a job which you like, even if it is a bit less money, that's okay. Okay, so your specialist field should be dictated by your interest, not money. So first be a generalist, have a good enough knowledge of a huge breadth of things, and then go to specialization. And many people do not kind of like try go this way. Okay, so when I talk about specialist, this is what I mean. This is called as technical depth in machine learning. This is what these images kind of like talk about. And for every stage there are at least few different roles in each stage. So you can specialize in anything, it depends on your interest. There are a lot of finer roles in data science. Don't be just focusing on data scientist. The number of jobs of actual data scientist is quite less. The data scientist job is what this is in black. People think data scientist is everything. No, this is really short time is spent in doing the data science related stuff, the ML modeling. A lot of time goes into rest of the things. So there are other roles which are quite important. So first, as a startup in the beginning, you should know good enough or knowledge of all these things. That doesn't take time. Then you kind of like start working as a generalist thing, and then you actually focus and decide on your specialization afterwards. Okay, so there is a question of Sukriti on how what all to learn how to become a generalist. So what I'm going to do is on every slide afterwards, I'm going to just put my thoughts on what is the approach. Okay, so what all do you need to learn? So the question is what things should I shortlist to learn? So I'll share the stuff I had shortlisted, but it's just my answer. Okay, everyone will have their own answers which needs to be found out for you. So just keeping in mind that you need to shortlist. Okay, so going into this thing, so currently what is the problem is there are too many courses right now, there are too many blogs right now. And because data science is so popular now, this has become very problematic. I mean, we have not just too many courses and too many blogs, a lot of them are fake. A lot of them are fake. When I was trainer, a freelance trainer, I used to be kind of like contacted by the companies, training companies, and their entire aim is to make money out of this new trend. It is not to teach, it is to make money. I have zero stake in the money because it's not my training company. So I can tell you honestly, there are a lot of fakes, and you have to be actually very careful. So this is the kind of like problem. Okay, and so but the solution is choose a few and learn deeply. And what was the shortlisted stuff which I have done? If you just go to this link, which is ajinkyakolhe.com/learnml, there is also a link called as Learn DL. These were the shortlisted links which I had found out. Okay, so there is, like you said, there is too much information. Don't go into any of this. Just choose a few and focus on learning deeply. Okay, first step is information, but information is not enough. Knowledge is a lot more important. So you want to shortlist a few and go to the next level, extracting knowledge from it. That is the next hurdle. Many people are just know lots of facts. They have lots of facts but no understanding. And if you don't have any understanding, it's useless. So by prioritizing information over knowledge, you are not hireable. Okay, so shortlist few, develop the knowledge of that, then you have crossed one hurdle to become this thing. So how do you cross the hurdle number one? You first try to become a generalist, and then depending on your interest, you try to become specialist, and try to become specialist only after you are doing a job. Okay, this is how you cross first hurdle. Second hurdle is like, instead of getting into FOMO, fear of missing out, you just shortlist a few. Because like I said, they're all the same, and they are kind of like, many of them are also fake. They are just selling you fake things, and it's the only thing what is happening is they are making money over you. Okay, so in like I said, I did not spend more than 6,000 learning machine learning, not no more than 6,000. Okay, and it's like, we have internet, a lot of things are available. If you don't want to pay even 6,000, there is torrent. So just by through downloading your courses for free, you can learn everything. I mean, before you have to, of course, shortlist. So information is the problem, rather problem is too much information, too much info. So the answer is shortlisting. And then another problem is like just info. So the problem is the solution is knowledge over information. So develop knowledge over information. So this is how you cross the second hurdle. Okay. Then third hurdle. How do you gain knowledge, not just information? So if you just have facts but not knowledge, then you are not going to use a tool properly. Knowledge is a deep understanding of a situation. Right now, what I have seen is many people have no understanding, and many of them are popular bloggers on towards data science or on YouTube. They have no understanding, but they are popular. They are popular and they teach data science. So that was like mind blowing. I mean, that is what has become. If your role models are shallow themselves, there is no probability of you going deeper because your aim is so shallow. So I see many people with no understanding, let alone shallow. So you at least aim for a shallow understanding, then deep one. Okay. So just reading books, reading these blogs, doing these courses, it does not develop knowledge. You have to think on it. Anything which is like, so there have been times where on one sentence in a book I was spending few hours just thinking about it. Okay, few hours just thinking about it. And that is what kind of like how knowledge is developed. You have to think, you have to understand, you have to go deep, and you have to kind of like focus on a lot of things to actually develop a knowledge. Information is not knowledge. Let me repeat, information is not knowledge. Okay, so this is the important thing what we have. Okay, so then one more point is then is like you have to develop understanding to choose correctly under constraints. Okay, you have to develop understanding to choose properly under constraint. So for that, like I said, it needs thinking, and it is quite important to develop these things. Okay, so then next point is, just because there are libraries, many of the training courses which I have seen, they just teach you how to use scikit-learn or keras. These libraries are not substitute for understanding. I mean, even a monkey could do it. If you just have these things, you have to understand what to do according to situation. Okay, what to do according to situation, and that needs understanding. So knowledge is a lot more important than information, and most people focus on information, and that is the problem. That is a big problem. Okay, so how do you bypass this knowledge is like this can't be quantified. Okay, how to develop knowledge, this thing is kind of like pretty unique to everyone's approach is different. But Richard Feynman is my really inspiration in this. There is a, I mean, watch Richard Feynman on understanding is like, there is this thing. So knowing name of the bird does not tell you anything about the bird. Just knowing the name is not enough. Knowing the, it is not understanding the flight pattern of the bird. So it's like, if you want, do check out the book, which is Surely You Must Be Joking, Mr. Feynman. That book actually tells you how did Richard Feynman, who is a Nobel Prize winner physicist, who is one of the most popular scientists even now, despite it's been a long time since he has died, as like you will see how he fed his curiosity and developed his knowledge. So knowledge can't be quantified. There is no one approach to do it, but there are a few examples. So check out Richard Feynman, and who else I think is a deep person who actually develops knowledge over just information. There is this woman in Google, Cassie. a Russian woman whose surname I can't pronounce. It's too complex. But let me find it up. Let me just show it to you. She is the best example of knowledge. Her. Read her articles. You will understand that her articles are not copy paste like most of the articles we have. Her articles are deep understanding, just mind blowing, just mind blowing. I mean, she is an amazing thought leader in the field of data science who actually has extremely deep knowledge. Okay, so develop knowledge and keep this thing in mind because it is extremely important. And I'm watching a few questions. Okay, questions is like how to cultivate, how to find, what is the learning path, what are the available courses, and blah blah blah. So it's like I am covering the answers, but I also want to cover the most important part, which is just a second. Okay, so there is a problem. Okay, and there is a solution to the problem. Solution is what? Answer to the specific problem. The specific problem. Okay. Now, because you guys are all asking the specific answers, I'm just trying to tell you, you need to develop the framework, the thought process to actually find a solution. Okay, don't ask the direct answer. I'm focusing on how you can find your own solution. And in the future, the situation is going to change. Problem is based on situation, right? In the future, situation is going to change, and because situation has changed, the problems will be different. And when the problems will be different, the solution which you have remembered, it is specific to that problem, that solution won't be valid. Hence, learn how to find solutions. Okay, so I'm telling you how to find these things. So I'm telling you, the no matter what you kind of like have, what role you want to do, information overload is always going to be a problem, and the solution is learning to shortlist, learning to not do FOMO. Okay, learning to shortlist and go deeply. So that is the way of finding answers, no matter the field you are into. Then second problem is like no one has knowledge. So focusing on how to develop knowledge, how to develop deep understanding. This is one important. So Richard Feynman, Cassie, let me pronounce her name, Kozirkov, just amazing, just amazing. Okay, and then there is this book which you might also like, Five Effective Ways of Thinking. Oh no, this is the book, Five Elements of Effective Thinking. So I have this book. It's very good. I learned it last year, and there are few other books on how to learn and details like this. But I would say this is a good starting point for me. I found I knew most of the things he mentioned in this book, but I have seen not many people know these things. So Richard Feynman. Surely you must be joking, Mr. Feynman. Surely you must be joking, Mr. Feynman. This is the book. And then Five Elements of Effective Thinking, then CASI. These are the kind of like stuff which is the way to find your answer. Okay. So then there is another thing which is skill. This is very important. What do I mean by that? Knowing how to swim does not make you a swimmer. Unless you actually get into the water, you don't know how the actual knowledge is applicable in reality. So just knowing how to swim is not enough. Knowing how to cook is not enough. When you actually start doing something, recipe which you have asked from your mom because of the lockdown maybe, or the stuff you have searched online or by watching a YouTube video, that does not equate to cooking a food which is edible, right? So the hurdle is there is a huge difference between information and knowledge. Many people don't go beyond the first problem of information overload. The that solution is shortlisting the information. Then after you shortlist, the next problem they never go for is like developing the knowledge from it. So once you develop the knowledge, then you have gone to the next level. But even knowledge is not enough. what is important is skill. What is a skill? Is ability to take that knowledge and actually put it into reality. Having the swimming knowledge and then actually converting that to actually swimming in the water. So skill is a lot more important, but that can only happen after you have knowledge. Knowledge can only happen after you have shortlisted the information, and that's how kind of like this thing goes. So how, what is the solution to develop skill? Go to Kaggle competitions, not advanced level, sorry, not beginner level, but advanced level, and do prefer the ones which are by companies. So how do you develop a kind of like skill? You actually participate. I mean, if it is too complex for you, start with a beginner, then go to the advanced level, which are more than beginner. That is how you develop skills. And here also, so skill you develop by doing projects. Okay. What people do is like they do many projects, but which are very simple. Okay, so this does not develop skill. Do a few projects. Okay, do a few projects, but do them deeply, do them differently, do them kind of like much deeper. Learn to go into depth of that few projects. So few good projects is a lot of many bad projects which are too simple. Okay, so quantity does not make for quality. Okay, this is the problem. Just quality of the information is a lot more important than quantity of the information. Quality is only developed when you have knowledge. So go for quality, not quantity. How do you do that? So solution is in dark bold. You compete in Kaggle competitions and then you develop skills. The fifth hurdle is skill, but which is disconnected from the reality. Okay, business or reality. What do I mean by that? There is this book by one of my favorite writer and speaker and scientist, Neil deGrasse Tyson. The book's title is Accessory to War. What is taught in the book is like how all science has been funded by military or business. Everything is for business, money. That is what makes the entire world running. So if you have shortlisted stuff, which is shortlisted information, then develop knowledge, then develop skill, but it is not actually valuable to business, why would anyone hire you? You have to know that your skill should be important to the business. And how do you know if it is important to the business? Google search. Okay, learning to Google, finding answers by simply googling is another key important thing. So whatever these things, I'm just telling you solutions. Just these are just the beginning of the solution. You need to go deeply. And how do you go deeply? You go deeply by doing googling. Okay, so let me just show you how I found out answers to a lot of questions in the beginning, because I did not have any mentor. I learned everything online. I did not have any teacher. So everything I learned was through internet. Okay. So how did I learn that? So I kind of like would do Google search and I would find some stuff. So for example, there was this thing. So these are all the articles which I had shortlisted for machine learning. Let me, this is just loading. There are too many articles which I had saved here. Let's just wait for this to load. But let me just show you another link. So I've got around 2,373 articles shortlisted around skill development and machine learning. So these are all the articles where all the questions I had, I searched on the Google. I shortlisted stuff which was important. So shortlisting is done, and then I will go for the process of developing knowledge based on this. For this machine learning thing, let us check how many links do I have. So I'm copying this thing. I'm going to one tab, and on the one tab, let me just import this here. So this is the one tab extension is what I use to do this thing. Okay, I have so many browsers, but okay, simply speaking, there are also 3-4 thousand articles at least just about machine learning, and these were shortlisted from maybe 10 to 20,000 articles or 50,000 articles I had searched about. So How do you find out? You just find out by searching and thinking. So it's like, if I have a question, it's like, what to learn in machine learning, maybe I'll search on Reddit. Okay, then I'll kind of like look at the answers which other people have found out, and then I'll go through all these things, then create my own answers. So it's like, how do you know? You don't know. How do I know? I've found out all the answers. How did I know? I found out. And how do you find out? You find out through Googling. So Googling is another thing which is quite important. So that is the skill which makes the foundation of many of the things. So the hurdle, your skill has to be matched with the business. And how do you know that? You just find out by reading online or asking people. Okay, people will not give you answers if they think you are a losing person. So you have to learn by yourself. You have to be a winning person first, knowledgeable person first. Then there will be line of people behind you who will be competing to give you feedback and give you answers. Okay, so you have to just prove yourself first. So your skill has to be useful to the business, and then you have to figure out which business. Do I want to go into finance, or do I want to go into medical, or do you want to go into this thing? So start thinking in this direction. Of, if you find out, okay, I want to go into finance, then think about what is needed, what is not needed. Think about what is useful, what is not useful. Try to find out answers on what is useful and what is not useful. And how do you find out? You go to Kaggle competition. Kaggle is a website for all the data scientists to go come together. Go to Kaggle website, search the competitions on Kaggle which are put forward by companies. Facebook was hiring their data scientist via competition on Kaggle. Zillow company was not actually hiring someone, but Zillow company put a competition whose winning prize was 1.2 million dollars, and the winner would have no problem getting hired into Zillow company as a data scientist. So look for the problems which companies are facing. Go to the company page and see which problems are AI problems. So you can go to this thing. So you can go to let's say I don't know, just Google Cloud. So you can go to Google Cloud machine learning. So Google Cloud ML, you can go to AWS ML, you can go to Azure ML. So these are all the top cloud providers in the world, which also have ML thing, right? So go to their customers, okay? Search online, find out all the customers of these which are present, and which you can kind of like use. Okay, so these are the kind of like Kaggle competitions through of the companies, via which you can actually understand what skill is useful in the business. So first was problem was information overload, solution is shortlisting. Second problem was people just focusing on information, the solution is develop knowledge. Then the problem was people just have a knowledge, they don't have skill, solution is focused on solving problems and developing skill. Then next problem is skill is not connected to the business, the solution is it should be coupled with being valuable for the business. Then the next hurdle is you are skilled, you are valuable to the business, but you are not visible. If you are invisible, you are invisible. You can't be found, you won't be referred, you won't be approached. So my job in Google, I was approached by the recruiter. I did not even know there was a job of instructor at Google. And how was it possible? Because I had all the things before, and I also had visibility. So your visibility of skill, visibility of your knowledge, all this thing has to be there. In this time of social media, there are two things. There is one thing which is social media, and there is another thing which is media. Very big powerful individuals and companies and countries, they can have enough money to control the media, which is news and TV. But individuals have power to participate on social media, not Facebook, by the way. LinkedIn, YouTube, Quora, Reddit. You have to be skilled and visible. You have to be valuable and visible. You have to be knowledgeable and visible. And like I said, many people are just visible without knowledge, without skills, without anything. So without knowledge and skill, now that is just stupidity. Now that might give you results in the short term. It might actually make, so nowadays it is so easy to fake that you are a skilled person. Okay, it is very easy to fake that. YouTube and Medium and this thing, these things are full up of people who have just copy pasted articles. They teach the same thing in the same way. They don't understand anything in it. So it's like they are just visible without knowledge, but they won't be able to go far. If you are playing a marathon, a long game, you have to be knowledgeable and skilled and valuable and visible. So these are the four quadrants. And where you should be visible, if you are, maybe less than 10K, if you are known to people less than 10K, you are invisible. Okay, that's the reality of the situation. Now I'm not saying be stupid and just be creating content like crazy. So Gary V, so it is not Gary, Gary V. So Gary Vee is an extremely popular content creator, but I don't like him because he's just saying the same thing again and again and again and again. Just because he's rich and successful, people hear what he's saying. But honestly, there are many people who are just doing the same thing. They are just showcasing their shallow understanding. I'm saying be visible, but be constantly growing, keep learning, and then showcase that learning. Okay. So have this by posting on LinkedIn, writing articles on Medium, maybe posting on Twitter, maybe doing short videos on LinkedIn, on YouTube, anything. It's like you have to keep thinking and you have to find your own solution. So this is the sixth hurdle. Then the seventh hurdle is how do you get hired if you don't have the experience? Many companies want people with experience. If you don't have experience, then they don't even entertain you. So that's the problem now, lack of experience. Okay. So the lack of experience, how do you bypass this is a very important question. Okay. So let me talk about how what this is called as a confusion matrix. Okay. A machine learning reference. A true positive is it is actually positive and that prediction is true. So it is what is it a true positive? It was positive and detected as positive. Okay, what is this? It was negative but detected as positive. Okay, detected as here it was positive but detected as negative, and it is negative which is detected as negative. Okay, this is confusion matrix. Let's think of this in hiring. Okay, a good hire and a bad hire. Okay, so people want to hire. Now, when you think about positive, false negative is what? It was actually a good person, but it was detected as okay, this guy is not good. So, what is false negative? Is good but not hired. Okay, what is false positive? Bad but got hired. Okay, then there is another thing which is bad and not hired, and then there is this thing good and hired. Okay, bad but hired, these things are accidents. And even if they do happen, so accidents, even if they do happen, they will never be able to climb to a position of high into the career. That's obvious. And why would anyone try to develop knowledge if just by faking it you could grow big? You have to be kind of like good. So don't aim to be a false positive, aim to be good first. So it's like this should not be your aim. Being not hireable should not be your aim. You should be hireable. For that you need to be good, you need good in knowledge, good in skill, and then the question is you want to be hired. So there is a question of visibility. And then how do you show the experience? You show the experience by showing your portfolio, not just resume. Words are cheap. Nobody cares about the word. Show the proof. Okay, show the proof. That's it. And interview is not to get selected. You have to prove your skills, prove your knowledge a long before interview. The actual interview is just a confirmation. So it's like, if anyone searches your name, is your skill visible, is your skill valuable, is that all visible on internet? If not, then you have to take a chance of applying, people giving you chance of interview, and then they found out, oh, you are a diamond in the rough, we were looking for you all along. But that's not how it happens, because there are so many people who are trying to do the same thing. No one is going to give chance to everyone. Nobody has time who is hiring. No one has time to go through lots of application to actually find good people. They would rather go for people who have proven their expertise before, because it minimizes their effort. So even if you lack the experience, you can compensate for that experience by having a portfolio. You did not work in the company, but you actually solved problems which a company would have needed. Look for them on Kaggle. And how do you prove that? Have a Kaggle rank at least a master. There are less than 6,000 people who have rank of master. Just 6,000. And getting into Kaggle master will not take you even 3-4 months. This is very a useful number to show that you are serious about and you actually have the knowledge, but no one does it because people want shortcuts. People want to be into this lucky accident. They don't want to do the effort. They don't want to do the skill. They want to be that accident which got selected without having much knowledge. But in this time, it's no longer gonna pass. You have to be knowledgeable, you have to be visible, you have to be skilled, and you have to have proof of your knowledge. Proof. How do you give proof? By your portfolio. Okay. And then the final piece of the equation, like you have no information, you have crossed the problem of information overload, you cross the problem of just information by developing knowledge, then you cross the problem of just knowledge by developing skills, then you cross the problem of just skill, you develop the skill which is valuable to the business, then you develop the proof of your skill by solving projects, then the final thing is you should be able to communicate your knowledge. Okay, you should be able to communicate your knowledge, and this communication skill is the last piece of the puzzle. Just knowledge is not enough. You should also have the ability to show and communicate that knowledge. Okay, so just knowledge is not enough. You also have to have that ability to communicate the knowledge, and this is what a communication thing is about. So I was asking in Google, even at Google, people who are at the peak of the technical depth, they say that it is easy to develop knowledge. They say it is much harder to learn to communicate well. So you can imagine the importance of communication. So communication is a skill. You have to have good communication, and it is very important. Okay, so that is the communication thing. Then, because communication is a skill, I'm actually very sad at the reality of it. What is the reality? Is many people don't develop the skill. Many people don't develop the skill. It's like communication improves with practice. Okay, it does not improve automatically, it does not improve by wishing. My English I improved by watching TV series. My mom is much better speaker than my dad. My dad is a doctor. He is a MPS, he had passed MPSC, failed in the final interview, but that's a different story. But just not just doctor, but MPSC's whole thing he studied, than degrees in psychology. But compared to him, my mom is more fluent in English through movies and TV series. It's like communication is a skill, it develops with practice. Everybody who practices improves. Everybody. The unfortunate thing is not many people practice. So it is inevitable. It is inevitable if you focus on developing the skill. It is inevitable. If you practice, you will improve. But people don't just focus on it. So what I am giving you is, I am actually giving you a lens to find out what are important problems, so that you can keep these things in mind when you are trying to develop these things by yourself. Okay, so these are the 8 hurdles when you cross all these hurdles, that is when you are employable and you are extremely good person who is employable. So this is the kind of like entire deck I had planned for you guys. These are the kind of like 8 hurdles. When you cross these all 8 hurdles, it is guaranteed that you will have a good job. So, like I said, now, which is 2020, things are different now. It is not same as before. So, how you learn, what you learn is also different now. So, please adapt accordingly. And if you adapt, then you will be able to get hired, and your aim will be met. Okay. So that's it. What I had for today. Thanks a lot. I'll take questions now. Thank you.
Wow, your talk was really, really
So how do I take
inspiring.
questions? Will should I pick them
Um,
from okay, from this thing? So let's see.
no,
Just
so
we are doing Q&A now. Maybe let me stop my screen share and okay. So
yes, so
let's
I'll be
do
like
Q&A. I'm
putting up the
taking
questions
a
for
look at
you.
the question. Just a second. I think there is someone speaking. I don't have my headphones.
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Your talk was really informative and exciting, and I hope it really acts as a template or caters the needs of our attendees. I have like collected the questions that people have been putting in the chat their queries, and as you it was really nice that you catered the questions directly in your talk and address them directly as we move through the flow. It really, I do hope that most of the questions and the queries got answered, but few of them that I think are more specific. They are like, one question was, I think I forget a lot, how to manage better and not to get stressed.
Yes. So, this is something which I'm extremely passionate about. So, let me share my screen one more time. And I would really recommend everybody to pay attention to what I'm sharing right now, because it is even more important than what I just taught. Okay. We spend years developing our knowledge. Our education system, right? We are learning for what? At least 20, 30 years. And then what happens? We forget what we have learned. We let it forget, and that's the reality of it. There is a thing called as forgetting curve, and the hard earned knowledge is lost simply because we did not revise it. Okay. So I have been trying to figure out how do I retain my knowledge, and there is this thing called as personal knowledge management. So this was inspired from a course called as building a second brain. So this is my favorite course ever. It is very expensive, so I just learned from it by whatever stuff was available online for free. Everybody in India, every single student in India has to have a second brain. I mean, this is more important than 4 years of your engineering. This tells you how can you retain your knowledge. So this course is by Tiago Forte, and he talks about how do you kind of like learn, then how do you save what you have learned digitally, and how do you make it accessible. And these are all the kind of like 8 units. Price is around $1,000, so it's like I didn't want to pay that much money, so I just learned it for free. So how is the output of that building a second brain looks like? So let's say I'm learning something. So yesterday I was learning, so go to execution and I'll go to sprint output. So yesterday I was trying to create this on machine learning. So okay, so how would it start? Learning anything starts with googling. Okay, so what I do is like I do this thing, I split the screen, and on the left hand side I kind of like do this Evernote. On the right hand side I keep the browser. So my main screen is covered from two things, and then my learning starts by just opening the stuff. Okay, so for example, let's say yesterday I was trying to learn how to do the attention related stuff. So let me just create this new note and do it on the left hand side and say okay, attention. So now if I am, so I have this slide where I'm going to put attention. On the right hand side, I'm reading these things. So then here it says, okay, so here attention determines experience. So I would read, then I would highlight the important things. So right now for highlighting, I use this extension called as Digo. So I will kind of like say highlight. I don't have this enabled. I don't know why, but you do the highlighting, and then whatever stuff is important, I will copy paste it here. So in this manner, I'll spend, let's say, maybe half an hour going through all the stuff on attention, and all the highlighted stuff, important stuff, will go in the note. And then I will not never Google this topic. So attention, I will never Google the topic. All the knowledge I already have put in my Evernote, and that way I have a lot of stuff already. So this is my notebook, how I have structured my knowledge. This is about training. So for public speaking development, through reading 6 7 8 books on this, and some of the stuff I had found out, these are all the notes I made about stuff. So it's like how to improve, what is the strategy for it, how to create outline, and what is the strategy for it. And then these are all my notes and the stuff I have found out from going online. So this is for training. Then I'm trying to figure out how to be a better trainer in the classroom. So then this is the stuff I noticed from someone, I read from some article, I thought about this thing, then I would keep. So now I'm trying to learn how to create online courses. So this is for public speaking and training, because I am a data science trainer. So these 39 plus 25 plus 9 plus these are the kind of like stories. So these are 10 20 different stories which I kind of like used based on the example. So then some movie related stuff. So this is my stuff on public speaking. This is on AI and ML. I haven't yet had time to create elaborate notes on AI and ML, but once I do, I will have maybe 4 500 notes here in AI and ML. So same thing for, let's say, information. So if I learn something, then any book I read, okay, or any person I follow on Twitter. So yesterday I was going for to through the timeline of this guy Kpac, Kpaxus something. So whatever stuff I like, I will favorite the tweet, and then I will take a screenshot, and at the end of it I will put all the screenshots in this one note. Then whenever I have time of reading, I have mood of reading, I'll just go into this directly. So let's say I want to improve my public speaking, then I'll just read the notes again and again and again and again and again. So every book I read, every tweet I read, every anime I watch, I have put in that stuff. Its information is present in my Evernote. So going back to the question, when you said you have built knowledge but you forget, you forget because it's not being repeated, it's not being revised. So whatever I learn, it goes to Evernote. I go in a very systematic manner, and that's why I never forget. So I would really recommend to follow this approach. And I have uploaded a video on how to do knowledge management. So just check out my video on YouTube. That goes into much more detail of the process I follow. You should, every student who is doing engineering or anything else, everything they learn, they should have a second brain. The notes, the knowledge should go somewhere digitally, because when you store it digitally, you can access it anytime you want. If you do show it on paper, okay, I do lots of paper notes. So these are some of my paper notes. I've got this thick stack, so around more than 1000 or 1500 pages worth of stuff I have written. But finding it is hard, going to the exact page. So if you kind of like put it on Evernote, and you revise it, you summarize it, you think on it, your knowledge can build on top of each other. So this year my knowledge is a lot better than how it was last year. I have not learned new things, I have learned more things from the old stuff. That is how you develop knowledge. So I hope you could understand the process of developing the knowledge, because that is incredibly important, and it's a key thing for any student to learn. So I hope that answered your question.
This,
Who had asked it, I don't know.
yes, sir. I do believe that this is a skill in itself to know what to take back to summarize what you have absorbed, what you have spent times on, your time on, and to be able to like gain insight from that. It's really an important skill to be learned, I believe. So, sir, there were like few questions around this singular concept that I'm amalgamating into one. What parameter do you go for shortlisting a process or a course or any path that you take, and how do you know, how you're sure, how do you introspect that what you're learning is right?
Correct. Again, a very good question. So, how did I know that machine learning was going to be big thing? One, there are two types of people. One who take risk, okay, and two, those who find out what is the answer. Okay, so for example, if you want to find out what, you don't know answer to something, you start by asking that question. So my way of going is like just do on a Google search spree. I go on an extremely big Googling thing. I read from a lot of people on Quora, on Reddit, on blogs, and I only read good stuff. By reading you develop a intuition of whether a person is a good writer or not, whether that person has useful thoughts or not. So I search on Twitter, Reddit, Quora, and lot of things I read. So it's like 1 hour something I'll spend on reading. Okay, now after you have done that, imagine let's say, just let me just show you a book. So this is a book whose title is On Writing Well. Okay. So this is book by William Zisner. It is his life's work on how to be a better writer. Okay. Now, if I had read through his book, if I've read through few other books which are by a great authors, their lifetime of work is available to me through the book, and then my thought process and the information and knowledge I have is a lot better because I have combined lot of resources. So I don't know anything, I find it out. So any question you have, okay, how's the future going, you have to find out the answer. It's Google is the place. And then on Google, on YouTube, on Reddit, on Quora, there are so many places. You have to keep in mind that don't go beyond, let's say, page number 3, because beyond page number 3 or let's say 5, you will get lost into too much information. So just keep a upper limit on all of these things, read all of them, understand all of them. That will improve your thought process, and then you can make the right choice. Okay, if you are still confused after reading, learning, doing all this thing, then ask someone else. If you ask somebody for an answer before you have done the research yourself, they will just shut you off because they don't care. I get so many questions which could have been searched on the Google, and the first link would have answered that question. So those kind of people will never get entertained by anybody because they're wasting their own time and someone else's time. So find out the answers when you develop the entire information tree. Then I go through the steps and figure out what is important, what is not important. So when I was learning data science, I didn't know what was important. I found it out. I developed my intuition through reading, through someone else, books and YouTube videos and blah, blah, blah. So I guess that is how you do it. That is how you target anything and improve your knowledge on.
Yes, so I believe that this thing is also like really, really important to have a sort of recursion on yourself. And this recursion keeps on adding by the environment in which you are interacting, by checking on the blogs and extra stuff. So this is how you reinforce. You build on something, you learn on something, you check it's
Correct.
that valid, and come back to it again. Right.
Correct.
So other questions are like more domain oriented. Some of the viewers have asked that they're currently working as data scientists. So should they learn full stack development? Should they go for competitive programming? Is it important to pursue data science?
Okay. So if someone is already working as a data scientist, then it might be better not to go for, let's say, competitive coding, because you already have a job which gives you experience, and because you already have experience in this, you can prove that you have skill and you can be hired for the next. So it's like, if you already have a job, go for a deeper knowledge in data science, learn cloud computing, learn the stuff related to data science. If you don't have a job, then it's a different story altogether. Before you decide to learn data science, you need to ask yourself, should you learn it? Like I said before, there are many people who have learned data science, but their knowledge is extremely shallow. If you are learning data science, learn it well. If you learn it well, you'll get a good job. But the true thing which no one tells you is, like, if you learn anything well, you will get a good job. So right now, I can earn my current salary even if I am teaching public speaking, even if I am teaching how to train, even if I am teaching, let's say, books. The talk which I gave on how to read a book, it's like I can actually create courses on all the books I read. So there are so many things I can make money, just not just data science, not just data engineering, not just cloud computing, because I'm good. So it doesn't matter what you learn, it's how good you are. So if you are learning data science, be good, be very good, and then do this visibility and blah 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 thing. So that's how it is. And the question of full stack developer, so generally full stack developer is kind of like called a full stack web developer. So it's a different domain altogether. You see, web development and the data science don't have much intersection, but there is actually intersection between software development and data science. So but software development is also a whole different thing, and data science goes into a different thing. So you should just choose one domain to specialize in, and you should have a general knowledge about other domains. So but in the beginning, you might want to sample everything. Okay, you want to sample let's say, how's software development, how's data science, how's web development. So you try small projects in all of them, see what you like, what you don't like, and then you slowly find out where you want to specialize. I started as a software developer, but it turned out I did not like software development. I thought, let's give testing a chance. So I was into testing and I loved testing, not the regression testing something. I was in charge of the debugging team. So I was in charge of finding out if something is not working, find out why it is not working, where is the problem. I loved that. It was like a puzzle hunting. But then I realized that it was just doing, it was still monotonous. What I like the most is, like, I like learning, I like weird stuff. So currently I'm practicing how to do juggling. Then sometime I want to learn magic. So it's like I like weird stuff. So I didn't get time to learn these things in the job. So I thought maybe I should go into teaching, because I saw in my college, I had seen teachers are the people who had a lot of time, but they learn very less. So I thought, okay, if there is a job where there is a lot of time, I'll use it to learn. That's why I moved to teaching. Okay, so this journey was not pre-planned since the beginning. You just experiment, try to do the best at each time. That's how you go forward. So whether you want to go into software development, whatever, start with where you are now, do it better, go further, then you will find out what you like and what you don't like. I went into training because I like it. It turned out I like it. Everybody has different liking. You need to find them out through a process. So start on that process. There is no one answer to the questions. So that's how the answer
Yes,
is.
so so this was like a personal question to me as well, because between the time as I'm still a student, so I'm still figuring out that what I need to do, what where my interest lies, and what the current trend is. So yes,
Correct.
indeed, it served well for me. Your answer, it's a great path. So next question would be around mathematics in machine learning. So there have been few questions like, how do we go around mathematics? How much maths do we know to get started with, or be at an intermediate level of maths? And then there was this very specific question that I'm a student pursuing MS in stats. I'm in final year, and I always feel lagging in computation as compared to CS students. So, what is a good course or a learning path that you would suggest that I should take up to cultivate that?
Correct. So both good questions. The second question, I'll answer it first. So you are into stats, right? So I mentioned in the beginning that there are lots of different roles in data science. So there is a role of data science researcher. The job of the data science researcher is to understand the mathematics behind the patterns in the data and know how to optimize this. What are the hypotheses? Is a certain metric which is chosen, is it the right metric or not? So this is deep mathematical role. If you want to be a researcher, then you need that deep math knowledge. If you don't want to be a researcher, you want to be a developer. For example, there is this simple analogy. Do you want to become a driver of a car, or do you want to become developer of the car engine? That decides what you learn. If you want to become developer, you need to learn to use the tools given to you. If you need to become the developer of the engine, you need to know the thermodynamics, the mechanics, all the fluid dynamics, maybe all those things, details you need to know. It's the same thing here. The depth of the maths is dependent on the role which you are choosing. There are a lot of roles where deep math knowledge is not required. I'm not saying zero math knowledge. I'm talking about how deep. The depth of the knowledge of the maths changes according to the role. And then what happens is, like, everybody looks up to the people like Steve Jobs, Andrew Ng, Jan LeCun, Elon Musk, and because they look up to them, they follow all their advice. For me, none of the Andrew Ng's advice works, because he's a deep mathematician. He comes from deep research background. He has extremely narrow interest in a narrow field, and he has extremely deep expertise. I am not like that. I like wide knowledge. I like to learn different things. So my personality is, I will develop shallow expertise of a lot of things. So any of the advice of someone like Andrew Ng or anyone else does not work for me. That's the mistake with many of the people. They are following the wrong advice. Someone wants to become researcher, but they are following the advice of a developer. Most people want to become developer. They are following the advice of researcher. So we have two people. One who is learning to be a researcher. So the question who asked the question on the stat part, he is learning to be a researcher, but comparing against the developer and saying, oh, I lack in the development side. But the targeted is different. He's targeting to be a researcher, he's targeting to be a developer. And the first the question was, how deep math do I need? I'm a computer science person, I want to go into data science. Assuming your interest is not deep maths, you are aiming to be a developer, not a researcher. So your depth of required math is much less compared to this guy's depth of required math, because he's going for a research based role. That is how things are different. So there is no one answer. It is all context specific and situation specific on your personality. These are all the things which needs to be considered to decide what is the right answer for you. Never follow a standard answer given by someone else, because that answer which is given to you is the answer of that person, his personality, his situation, his experience. That need not apply to you, right? So you have to think and you have to relate it to your specific case, and then apply that answer to your life.
Yes,
So
indeed, it's very important that you should be authentic to yourself and find your own path, find your own way. I would say the last set of question would be more generalized, like what's your take on data privacy, federated learning? Will AutoML or GPT take over machine learning?
I'll answer the question on AutoML and GPT. So recently GPT was released, and you see in the GPT-3, it costed around, I think, $20 million something to just train that model. There was an AlphaGo model. It costed around similarly 30-40 million dollars to train that. So these models are very good, but they are not to a level that we need to be afraid of them. Point number one. Point number two, technology always keeps on moving forward. Let's say, instead of a software developer, let's say, what is the oldest job? What is the oldest job of the entire humanity? There are two jobs which are very old. One, farmer. Okay. But there is even a older job than farmer, hunter. So hunter were, hunting, then, came civilization, then hunters became soldiers. Okay. So in the beginning, soldier might have fought with a stick, then with a sword, then came guns, then came machine guns, then came bombs. Did the soldier become obsolete? No. We need people who know how to use the tools. So anybody who adapts according to the situation and learns, they'll never have a problem. Gary Kasparov lost against the machine, and the game he lost was of chess. But Gary Kasparov immediately started learning from the machine, and his game improved a lot. So in chess, chess has become a lot better now because people can learn from the machines. Same thing will happen in Go. Same thing will happen in everything else. Sure, the number of jobs which are available of low skill, they will reduce. But as long as you are aiming to be a high skill, you will never have a problem. Just as long as you are aiming to be high skill, you'll never have a problem. Am I still audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, so that was the second question, and the question which is, I see if Joe 29 something, the question on data privacy and federated learning. Now, since let's say 2012, when everyone has started going into data science, the finer subfields of data science are emerging. Finer fields like data privacy, federated learning, differential privacy. So before, people did not even know how to do data science. Now privacy is becoming important. So that has come up. Then encryption in ML is going to come up. Then data anonymity is going to come up. So it's like Maslow's law of hierarchy. It's like once you solve one problem, more the problems which you face next are not more complex. They are more subtle. If you have a huge problem, the problem is like huge problem and a subtler problem, you are of course going to solve a huge problem first. So then the subtler. So right now is a time of data privacy and federated learning. These are the things which are currently being addressed by big companies, and maybe some companies which are startups. In few more years, this field will become a lot more in demand, because then rest of the stuff they would have done, and people will be more worried about data privacy and doing differential privacy and doing federated learning. So right now you need to know the things which come before these things. And anyways, these things are definitely going to have future. There are a lot of things which have subfields in data science which have future. You just need to know them, and you just need to learn them accordingly. So that's how my take on that question.
So, wow, sir. Um, so, definitely, your points, all the points starting of the talk till end, it was really informative and exciting. It also, in a sense, provide that you give links about getting started with data science and machine learning content, and you also added a feature of self development, element of self development also. It so in a way it was a specialist in a case of generalist. The And I really hope that your talk serves as a template for everyone to be their own guiding light, so that they could get started on their own. They get motivated enough to get started on their own, to be their own explorers and find their right path for them. Covering topics
Correct.
not
So the
only.
problem is there is no lack of direction. Problem is people choose a lot of different directions. You need to choose one and go on it. What happens, like people go, it's kind of like if you are going on a petrol pump to and staying in line to get your fuel refueled. There is always multiple lines, and whichever line you go into, it feels slower. That's what people do. They just choose one direction, go for a bit, then they choose a different direction, go for a bit, choose for a different direction, go for a bit. And that's the problem. So choose one direction and go forward in that. And farther you go, then more results will be there. I mean, like I said in the beginning, I've been through depression, I have career break. It's like these things should have stopped my whole career, but my career, my situation, everything is a lot better now, because I mean, as long as you choose a path and keep walking, it does not take 3 years, does not even take 3 years to not just change your situation, but be amongst the top of whoever It's like just in 3 years my situation changed and became so better than anyone else whose group I was part of. Why? Because I just kept walking. 3 years, 4 years is all it takes. So in the beginning, there was a situation that on the road people put brochures to their own training, right? I have actually submitted on the road. I was standing on the road and giving brochures of my own training. I didn't have any training assignments. I was kind of like asking for students in that way. And from that to getting a regular trainings on a regular basis took 2 years. And then in one more year I was doing trainings in Google. Like I said, it doesn't matter your starting point, keep going, keep learning, and as long as you follow the right process, you get the correct results. People follow the wrong process to get the result they want, but that's not how it works.
Yes, sir. So with this, we come to the end of our Data Ketchup meetup today. Thank you so much, Ajinkya sir, for your informative and novel-oriented, comic-oriented, books-oriented insights about life, about getting started with machine learning, your organizational skills, which I really hope that would inspire people to become more goal oriented, to find their own path and see their career in a different light. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So with this, we come to an end to our session, and a little brief about our next session, our upcoming event. So the September month is the month for celebration of women in data science. So we are announcing our next month's speaker, India's first female Kaggle grandmaster, Usha Rengraju. She will be talking about TensorFlow Hub and exciting stuff about it. So please do register through our Eventbrite link, and see you all in the next meetup. Join us. Thank you so much. Bye.